One of the most critical parts to understand in audit is why you are doing an audit. You are doing audit to discover what are the area of improvement, what are the potential risks that you need to consider, what are the threats that or the findings that you need to uncover in order to provide assurance in the information system and in order to fix the issues. The audit can be used to identify problems. Problems are mainly related with security. So it is very important to discuss the concept of CIA Triad and understand what are the terms confidentiality, integrity, and availability and its relation with the assets. So although this video is not related to domain 1, but it will be very useful to build our knowledge starting from this domain about these three concepts. If you already know the concept behind CIA, I believe you can skip this video and go to the next video. However, it will be act as a good way to refresh the information. So let's start. CIA Triad is very known term in relation to cybersecurity and information security trainings. Target of security is to meet the CIA or to meet the confidentiality requirement, integrity requirement, and availability requirement. Having a system that considers these three parts of the triangle in place will ensure that your system is secure in a good way. Remember, there is no kind of 100% security. We are trying by doing security to harden our system as much as we can, so the revenue of attacking the system will exceed the time is required to attack it. In order to understand this word or the statement just as I said, I believe you need to re-listen to it again or let me see it once more again. The target of security implementation or security controls that we harden our system as much as we can. We make our system is harder and harder, so the hacker or the intruder, if he does not have the intention or does not have the strong motive, when he assess the opportunity that he can do or the time that he will need to attack our system, he will find that he will invest more time than what he will benefit after gaining access to our system. So this can be achieved by hardening our system as much as we can. I hope that is clear. The first part of the CIA Triad is the confidentiality. Confidentiality is concerned about keeping information secret. In confidentiality, we ensure that only authorized user or only authorized subject can view the needed data. So we perform the secret or preserve the secrecy of the data. In integrity, we confirm that or we ensure that there will be no unauthorized access or unauthorized modification to the data or destruction or deletion. We will ensure that nobody will log into the system and modify one of the salary parameter or something like this because our system is tamper proof and data within this system is integral and it cannot be tampered or cannot be changed. Also, one of the benefits of preserving the integrity of the system is to having the non-repudiation part. And non-repudiation simply mean every action that will be performed on the system will be related to someone, and the one who did this action will not be able to deny or reject that he is the one who did this action, because our system has a means or have a techniques that ensure that we can link a certain action with someone. The last part of the CI triad is the availability, and availability means that our system and the data inside the system will be available whenever needed to the authorized subject only. We need to take care about the keyword subject, and subject here we are discussing the person or the something or the service that is trying to access data. When we are trying to design our system, we are looking to the information user as a subject, because subject can be a real user or can be a service. For instance, you can have a system that accessing another system to fetch a kind of data. So in this case, we cannot tell or call this system as a user, so we are telling or saying that the user is a subject, and subject will include someone or something that is trying to access the data. So availability is ensuring, or the measures that are in place to ensure that data is available whenever needed for authorized subjects only. Of course, there are a lot of measures to implement these three concepts. In confidentiality, we ensure the secrecy or the secret of information by applying what is called encryption. We ensure integrity by applying what is called hashing. We ensure availability by implementing BCP, business continuity plan, and disaster recovery plan, and high availability. But don't worry, all of these are not still in the scope of this video. So we are just understanding that the goal of security is to meet the CIA requirement, and CIA consists of three parts that we just discussed. Also, another essential terms that we need to understand before going through the next video is to understand what does asset mean. Asset is any resource with economic value to the organization. Asset can be something tangible or intangible. Tangible mean this thing can be touched, such as a building. Building is a tangible asset. But the reputation or the copyright or the secret receipt, it is not, or reputation, let's say the reputation or the copyright, it is intangible asset. We cannot touch this asset. However, this reputation of the company or the copyrights is still generating revenue. It has an economic value, so this is the asset. The threat is anything that could harm our business in adversarial and cause impact to a computer system. So it is, and not only the computer system, so threats, the war is a threat, and so on. The risk is the impact of, or let's say the risk, we will read the definition as it is. The risk is the possibility of suffering harm or a loss in a result of a threat. If we had a war, we will have a certain risk of cutting the supply chain. So the risk is depending on the threat. And risk also is defined as a product of probability and impact. We will see this, or we will understand this in great much of details later in upcoming videos. Vulnerability is a weakness that can be exploited by a threat actor and cause harm to a system and allow us to have unauthorized access or unauthorized action to the system. However, you need to understand that threats are not affecting only digital system or computer system, having and as well as a vulnerability. Having no fence surrounding your building is considered a vulnerability. And having bad neighbors is considered as a threat. So threats and vulnerability can be mapped also to a physical security, not only a digital security. You need to elevate your mindset in this way. Attack is an offensive action against the system or against asset. So what are threats are trying to do? What are vulnerability exist? Is threats are harming assets if the asset having a vulnerability. By making threat possible, this will be a risk, and we make a risk to asset by doing an attack. We will understand that just right now. We have the threat actor, which is someone who are doing the attack. He use threat, and using a threat, he create an attack. This attack is trying to exploit a certain vulnerability, and vulnerability is tied or linked with a certain asset. As I mentioned earlier, when we have a building and this building doesn't has a kind of wall surrounding this building, this might be considered as a vulnerability in the asset. So vulnerability are mostly tied with an asset. If attack was successful, this will cause an impact, and this would cause a risk on this asset. So how we can achieve the CIA? We achieve the CIA or the confidentiality or integrity high availability by implementing controls. Controls is a way to reduce the impact that could be caused by an attack. For instance, I am afraid from a bad neighbors. So I build a wall with barbed wire surrounding my building. In this case, The wall is a kind of control that is trying to limit the intrusion of my bad neighbors. So, this is what controls mean. Controls ensure that system or asset will be secure. But remember, there is no keyword to say that 100% of security. Controls can be used to minimize the risk to an asset and allow the business to do his task. Controls can come in many forms. Some controls are administrative, some controls are technical, some controls are physical, and we will see that in great much of details. Control cost need to be proportional to the asset we are trying to protect, which means we cannot protect from a logic perspective. We cannot build a wall behind a building without no economic value, and this wall cost exceed the cost of the building. So the control need to be related to the criticality and how much the asset will be. And remember, when we do an asset valuation, it is a very tough task, because when we do an asset valuation in the IT or in the information system, we are not just considering the cost of the asset, the wall, the bricks, the concrete itself, but we consider also the intangible value. So you need to discuss and you need to understand this. So control cost need to be proportional, need to be justified, and need to subject to return of security investment and through you doing a cost benefit analysis. So that was all for this video. I hope it was informative, and I hope to see you in the next video. I hope you are enjoying, and let me know in your comments what you think about the course up to now.